What is going on, my friends? Today I am just elated to talk to you guys about the experience that I just had last weekend. So Alaska on Friday decided to open up the state 100%, no restrictions, restaurants, bars, salons, all of it's open right now, which was in perfect time because every year on Memorial Day, my wife and I we go down to Homer, Alaska, and we chase the eagles. So it's my big eagle trip for the year. It's a perfect time. It's right around May. They got chicks. Fishing season starts, so some of the salmon were already running this weekend, and they start migrating north, warmer weather, nesting up. It's just a perfect time to go out scouting and taking pictures of the eagles. So we went down to Homer, Alaska, and a little backstory on Homer is it's just on the very southwest corner of the Kenai Peninsula. Kind of sits overlooking Kachemak Bay. It's a little fishing town. It's got the port of Homer. It's got the Spit. The Spit is a 3-mile long stretch of land that juts out into Kachemak Bay. They launch halibut tours. There's killer whale watching. It's where a lot of the flights that go to bear viewing fly out of. So it's just all around a phenomenal little community. So we head down there in search of eagles. We end up staying at this beautiful little cottage that overlooks Kachemak Bay, and it was just an incredible little experience. But getting past all that, now that you kind of have a picture of where we were at, let's talk about how I decided to find eagles. Because I always get the question like, okay, so you're going scouting or you're going hunting for eagles. How are you going to find them? So I wish it was like it is in the movies where it's just beautiful scenic eagle flying down the river and snatching salmon out or trout or grayling, whatever it is they're hunting. But to be honest, it's not the case. So eagles are very opportunistic. They're scavengers, just like most birds of prey. So unfortunately, you find them at dumps, you find them in ports, you find them in harbors, you find them where there's a lot of fish in and out. So what I did is I did a little scouting. Now, this was a couple years ago. Like I said, we do this trip annually. I found this tiny little, I won't even call it a port. It's just a launch. It's where they launch and receive boats, like private halibut fisheries that go out into Kachemak Bay and into that portion, and they go out and they go for halibut. So when they come back, before they get picked up on the beach by this big cat with a nice little recovery trailer on it, they skin out the halibut and they throw it overboard right when they're getting recovered. And eventually, after time, that halibut carcass, it washes up on the shore. So there are, no exaggeration, this time of year, tens, I won't say hundreds, but there are tens of eagles, mated pairs, juveniles, subadults, everything you could ever hope for when it comes to building an eagle portfolio, all right on this little stretch of land. It's down in the Homer area, and it's been my go-to for eagle photography since I've been in Alaska. So that'll kind of paint the picture for what I'm talking about, where we are. But sorry, I had to make notes just because there's so much I wanted to cover with you guys. So my intent was this year to round out my portfolio. I always go for the glory shots. I always go for the beautiful bald eagles swooping in, talons extended, yanking, halibut carcasses out of the water. And I got probably, 15 of those beautiful images. Now, those are awesome images, and don't get me wrong, every time I see one, I'm going to take that picture. But in order to really build yourself a portfolio, especially on a specific animal, like in this case an eagle, you got to tell the whole story, right? You got to get the mated pair, you got to get the juveniles, you got to get the subadults, the plumage change, the molting, the whole story. And then, of course, you got to get those beautiful eagle shots. Now, you guys know me, I'm a huge behavior guy, right? So I always want my eagles doing something cool. I want them fighting over halibut carcasses. I want them protecting the young while the young eat. I want the eagles swooping in and pulling the carcasses out of the water. The whole 9 yards. Sorry, I gotta reactivate these notes or I'll get completely lost. So that was the goal this year, to go down there and get an entire story. Tell the whole story from juvenile, subadult, and then fully matured adult. The first day I get down there, there's nothing. Right? Like I get down there, it's probably 4 p.m., 4 in the afternoon. And the beach is just desolate. And I'm like, dadgum. Like, I don't know if there was nobody fishing yet, because, Alaska had only opened up on Friday. There was no carcasses washing up on shore. If the eagles weren't there because of that, I didn't know. So I was really bummed out, and the first night was pretty much a wash. I didn't get anything. The next morning I show up, and it's really overcasty. It's foggy, misty. That's the whole sea weather thing going on. I did manage to grab a few shots that I'm pretty proud of. So I'm going to play these while I keep talking to you about the morning that I was shooting, so you guys can kind of get an idea what I was looking at. I was looking at, the eagles. There was a couple halibut carcasses from apparently the night before that they were feeding on. There was a lot of cool behavior. Even though the light was pretty dull, there was just a whole lot of beautiful eagle action going on. So I rounded out that whole morning getting the images you're looking at right now. I had left for lunch. We went down to the spit, did the whole vacation thing. Went to the shops, took the wife out to a nice lunch, and then begged and pleaded for her to allow me to go back for the sunset. And of course she does, because she's awesome. So we go back, and believe it or not, they're recovering all the halibut tours from the day. And next thing I know, I start seeing halibut carcasses roll up on the shore. And I'm like, oh, buddy, here we go. And then out of nowhere, there's probably 10 or 15 eagles, coming in from all directions. And I'm, got the camera. And, I'm just swinging it around. I'm not really focused. I'm kind of just, shooting anything that moves at that point. And I had to, compress myself, recompose, take a breath, and be like, all right, remember what the point is. Tell the whole story. So that's when I start clacking off these images I'm going to play for you now. And it's got one eagle, he's eating while the adults are eating. So it's one juvenile eagle. He's actually a sub-adult. This is probably the last year he'll be with his folks. And you can tell by the plumage. And then, right off to the side, his parents are sharing a halibut carcass. And I don't know if you know, but eagles mate for life. So I'm starting to get all these beautiful images. They're posing on rocks, and they're swooping in, and they're flying in, and they're fending off other people, or not other people, other eagles. And I'm just, mind blown that this is going on. I'm catching all the behavior. I'm rounding out the whole portfolio that, that's the whole reason I'm here. So I'm really happy with these shots. So I'm going to go ahead and play them for you. Hopefully you guys get a kick out of it. And here we go. All right, so hopefully you guys enjoyed those. Let me tell you, I took over 2,000 images this weekend, and I know you guys only ever see the highlights, but I want to tell you guys that's not the case. I take 2,000 images, and then I cull them down to like my top 100, and then I go through them one more time, and I get like my top 50, and 41 images is all I took away from this weekend. Now I know you're like, oh, 41 images, these are pretty decent images, but 2,000 images, and I walked away with 41. So don't be under any assumption that, I get these beautiful shots and, everything I point out is awesome, and that's just not the case. But what I do want to talk about is something incredible that happened that you guys, I couldn't believe it. I still can't believe it. But luckily I got some pictures and a little bit of video of what happened. So there I am, set up on the beach, in this pile of woods. Keep in mind, I've been there for 48 hours. Pile of woods, pile of, I don't even know, trunks, old trees, like sea trunks that have washed up. I don't know. You guys can see the pictures. But there I'm set up. Now, like I said, I've been there for 48 hours. So these eagles are pretty accustomed to me at this point. I'm the same weird guy with the big creepy thing that is always pointing it at them. So believe it or not, I'm sitting there, and it's starting to get a little bit later in the day, and this juvenile eagle, maybe a subadult, I can't really make my mind up. You can always tell the difference between a subadult and a juvenile by, you know, the plumage, by how spotty they are, by how gray their beak is, you know, compared to how yellow their beak starts to get. These are all ways you can age an eagle. You know, by normally 4 or 5 years, they're fully mature. They get the white head, they get the white tail, and you can kind of backtrack by there. Anyways, I'm getting off topic. You guys, sorry. So I'm sitting there, and I'm in these trunks, these old trees, and this juvenile eagle flies up, and I kid you not, lands 3 feet from me and looks me dead in the eye. I mean, I'm talking dead in the eye. And he sits there for the next hour. And I'm having a full conversation with him. You know, I'm like, are you sick? Are you injured? Like, what the heck is going on? I truly believe he just wanted to see what the weird dude was doing, and he came to get a closer look. So check out these images and these videos, and I still can't believe how close I was to this eagle. So check this out. All right, so yes, I'm still blown away by how incredible that was. But 2 more things that I want to talk about before I sign off is lessons learned. So things that I learned this weekend that it wasn't the first weekend learning, but it really reinforced. So I went down there, and like I said, I was, you know, camping out of this little cottage, and, you know, spending all day down at the beach. And when the action started, it was like balls to the wall, just cracking off shots left and right. You know, I took probably the majority of those 2,000 photos within, you know, an hour and a half. So lessons learned. 1, be patient. If you know that it's a spot you've been to and you just don't see anything, keep going back. They're eventually gonna come back. Second off, I brought 6 batteries for the D850, and I went through all of them. Now 2 of them are the big D5 batteries that, you know, I use on the battery grip, but the other 4 were just my normal batteries. And by the time I had left, not only had I burned through every single second of battery life on the D850, but I also burned through all of my memory cards. So I brought 2 XQD cards, both 120 gigs, and I have a backup SD card because it's XQD and SD card. Every single megabyte was full. And I realized that if anything else would have happened, I would have had to start deleting images on the spot. So bring more memory cards than you think you're going to need, especially if you're going on like this awesome adventure or this awesome trip that you do once a year. Bring more batteries than you would need, and bring more XQD cards or memory cards or whatever SD card you use. Bring twice as many as you think, because there is nothing worse than being on location with your subject and completely running out of either battery or memory. So those are the only 2 things I really wanted to harp on at the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you guys liked the images, because like I said, this is my 1 big trip a year to get eagles, and that's all I really have, guys. So hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Cheers.